Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, September 21st, I believe. Is this not the fall solstice? I think it is. So welcome, we're glad that you found us. I'm going to get right into it tonight, folks, where we are at right now. So we're fighting for two things. We're fighting for the return of bankruptcy protections to all student loans. And we are fighting for the cancellation by executive order, not by Congress, but by executive order of all federally owned student loans. If you have any questions or comments, throw them out, and if I can see them, I will gladly respond to them. So here's where we're at, guys. We have a very good bill in the Senate that's going to return bankruptcy protections to all federal student loans, not private student loans, federal student loans with a 10-year waiting period. So it's not the perfect bill. The perfect bill would be repealing 11 U.S. Code 523.88 and would return bankruptcy protections to all student loans. So we don't have that. There's another bill, HR, I think it's 4907 from Steve Cohen of Tennessee, that will return bankruptcy protections to private loans, but I'll talk about that on another night. Right now, S2598 is the bill that is very important. We've never been as far along, we've never been as close as we are to true student loan justice as we are now, because of this bill S2598. I would also just sort of put out there that, you know, that petition that we started last year in March of 2020, that really is the driving force behind all the stuff that we're seeing about loan cancellation in the news today. Now, that's a good thing. Pat ourselves on the back, and that's all great. We certainly did start that public conversation. It wasn't until, we were a voice in the wilderness for many months on this, until finally, about a year ago, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer took the concept and started running with it, and now we're hearing about canceling up to $50,000 in student loans. But guys, I'm telling you, we've been doing this for many years, and I'm here to report to you very clearly that it still comes down to bankruptcy. It really does. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But not having bankruptcy rights is going to make any loan cancellation that we might see completely laughable, worthless, and non-starting. We've been doing this for 16 years, folks. We've seen any number of loan cancellation programs come and go. We saw income contingent repayment back in like 1993. That's even before we started our group. Income-driven repayments. We've seen the IBR plan, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness plan, the pay-as-you-earn plan, the revised pay-as-you-earn plan, on and on and on. And the one thing that we can say about all of these cancellation programs, we don't like calling it forgiveness, we call it cancellation. The thing that all those cancellation programs have in common is that 99.9% of everyone is getting, or has been rejected, disqualified out of those programs. This is what we can expect with any kind of an up to $50,000 loan cancellation that we might see happen, such as what Senator Warren is talking about. We're thrilled that leading senators like Schumer and Warren have embraced the concept. Of that, there is no doubt. But guys, I'm telling you, we're here to solve this problem. And unless and until the threat of bankruptcy is back on our side, we're not going to see any sort of meaningful loan cancellation. The Department of Education does not have it in its DNA to actually cancel loans. You give them any opportunity at all to disqualify, reject, means test, otherwise not cancel loans, that's exactly what they're going to do. That's what they've always done. And that's what they continue to do today with public service loan forgiveness, IBR. We've got to have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Now, if you're in any of the other groups out there fighting for cancellation or whatever they're fighting for, you need to be very loud and proud in making that argument because, guys, we cannot afford to be screwed again. We've been fighting for this for too long, and we're not going to let ourselves be fooled. We can't let ourselves be fooled with another nonsensical, nice sounding, but actually fake loan cancellation nonsense foisted upon us by the student loan swamp. And I would just urge everybody within the sound of my group and beyond, particularly people who calling themselves student loan activists, you'd better get with that reality. It's not something I would want to be true. It's something that is true. We've been doing this for too many years, and if we've learned nothing else, we've learned what I just said. Getting constitutional bankruptcy protections returned is the very first thing that has to happen in order to get any meaningful loan cancellation. Because right now, okay, let's just sort of game this out, shall we? Let's say Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, other leading Democrats are just extremely successful. Lo and behold, Joe Biden one day says, I'm signing an executive order canceling up to $50,000 in student loans. Okay, there's going to be, I don't know, means testing. If you earn less than $150,000 or $100,000 a year, then you get up to 50 on a sliding scale. So there's that. Okay, maybe people who went to, there's going to be all sorts of weasel words, all sorts of criteria that's thrown into that, which the Department of Education, like they have done with every loan cancellation program up to this date, will use in order to not cancel loans. So what we'll get is something very much like what we've already got, and that's ridiculous loan cancellation where almost nobody gets it. And the kicker is that bankruptcy is still gone. Statutes of limitations are still gone. So we're going to get exactly what we've already gotten, guys, where, oh yeah, Biden canceled up to $50,000 in student loans, but yeah, in your case, yeah, you only got a $13,000 loan cancellation because this X, Y, and Z. Or maybe you got none because your household income, X, Y, Z. And oh, by the way, the whole entire lending apparatus remains intact. And they're kind of pissed that they had to write off some of these loans. So they're going to go overboard, out of their way, to make sure they make up that $13,000 on your ass in fees, penalties, however they can do it. We don't want that, guys. We do not want that. Listen to me. We don't want that. As long as bankruptcy protections are gone, that's what we're going to get. So if you're serious about wanting, and by the way, even if you got $50,000 of your loans canceled, actually, for most people on that group, on this group anyhow, that's chicken feed. That's insulting because they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in many cases have already paid back hundreds of thousands of dollars and shouldn't be paying back another dime. I mean, this lending system is done. It's toast. Quite frankly, in my humble opinion, nobody should ever pay another dime back on their federal student loans. This thing is a national threat. This lending system is more catastrophically failed than any failed lending system in our nation's history. Going back to whatever loans they made to the settlers back in the days of the Boston Tea Party, and continuing through this SNL crisis, the SNL scandal, the subprime home mortgage lending, failed lending system of 2008 or 9. So folks, we can't go there. We got to have our bankruptcy rates back. There's a very good reason the Founding Fathers called for bankruptcy ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. Now, S-2598 is exactly the right bill to be pushing right now. There's going to be other bills coming, as I said, But this is the one that actually is a giant leap forward for us. Now let's game out the scenario with bankruptcy return, shall we? Okay, let's say our bill passes as written, and I think there's a good reason to believe that that will happen. We've got to fight, but I think I'm guarded. I'm very cautiously optimistic that that will happen. The bill has 2 Republican co-sponsors already in the Senate. One of them is Josh Hawley, who's a young rising star in the Republican Party. The other one is John Cornyn, Texas. There's no reason we can't get Marco Rubio, many other Republican senators to co-sponsor this bill. Certainly vote for the bill when it gets up for a vote. With bankruptcy protections in place, all of a sudden, it's like a different deal in Washington. Then it's like, oh, ooh, Joe Biden's going to do this calculation. He's going to say, wow, okay, so now bankruptcy protections are returned for the large majority of federal student loan borrowers. Do I want to be the president that forced 20 or 25 million people into bankruptcy for the crime of going to college when fewer than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason in this country every year? Do I really want to be the president who on his watch, the bankruptcy courts were overloaded to the point of seizure? I don't want to be that president. So as soon as bankruptcy protections are back, 2 things will happen. Number one, Biden will actually cancel some loans, I'm quite confident, by executive order. But more than that, all of a sudden the Department of Education starts canceling loans administratively. All of a sudden, people start getting their loans canceled through public service loan forgiveness. All of a sudden, people start actually seeing their balances be negotiated away with the threat of bankruptcy on our side. Those are all the sorts of things that will happen with bankruptcy in place. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it'll look a lot like what I just said. And who knows? If the people in Washington were smart, they would say, all right, that's it. No. Screw this. This lending system is done. We just need to wipe it away, and we need to get a fresh start. We need to reinvent the higher education financing system in this country. That would be the very smart thing to do, and that could very well happen. But guys, as long as bankruptcy is gone, the same games that we have been the same games that have been foisted upon us, the same games that they have played with our lives to great harm, those are the same games that are going to continue to be played. So all that stuff, guys, and I swear to you, I'm not bragging, this group right here is where that battle is. We've got over 1 million people on our group now with our petition and this group and our other platforms. I don't think we would have bankruptcy protection in Congress, or I don't think we would have a bankruptcy bill in Congress right now, but for our efforts. I really don't think that we'd be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order right now, but for our efforts, our petition and the efforts of probably tens of thousands of our people. So guys, this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. The right solution is not going to fall into our laps. We got to fight for it. So bear that in mind. With that, maybe the final things that I'll say tonight is that you've got to help. You've got to help. Look up and down on our group. You will see daily actions that we do, like almost every day. And usually they take a few seconds. They don't take long at all. I can't see the comments, by the way. Sorry about that. I'll respond to any comments you might be lodging later on. We can't expect the people in Washington, D.C. to fight this battle for us. Look up and down on this group. You will see daily actions. Do as many of those as you can in a reasonable amount of time, say an hour or 2 hours. Most of it is Twitter. Some of it is email. All of it these actions do not take long at all. There is great strength in numbers. We have got a huge muscle to flex, but we've got to flex it. So start there, but don't be limited to our stupid little daily chores. They're not stupid; they're very important, but they're they're very little effort. They almost seem like they're inconsequential, but they really add up when everybody does them. Don't be limited to those. Be creative. Be clever. You're smart. You went to college, right? We can think of other ways. Think of Republicans that we need to have on our side, particularly on this bill, S-2598, Republican senators. And maybe the most important thing I'll say tonight is think of Republican governors who should be on our side. People like Greg Abbott in Texas, Brian Kemp in Georgia, the guy from Missouri, I can't remember his name. Josh Hawley is the senator. The governor, I'm not even gonna hazard a guess. The governor of South Carolina, H.R. McMaster. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. He's actually probably my number one guy. These governors, if even one, two, maybe three of them stand up with us and say, Mr. President, this is enough. We're done. We're not going to let our states be conquered and enslaved by student loan debt. Cancel these loans. And remember, the states that I just mentioned, like Georgia, their state budget is $48 billion. But Georgians owe $82 billion in student loan debt. And most of that is federal debt. Federal. This is a state sovereignty issue. And any governor calling himself a Republican, calling himself a conservative, had better be ready to fight for his people in his state or her. So like Kristi Neem of South Dakota would be another good one. Chris Sununu in New Hampshire. These people should be on our side. If we can get one or two of them, maybe three, to join us, that changes everything. Everything. Over the past month, if you haven't noticed, I've been practically begging people to get us into phone conversations with their governor's staff. We've had a few good conversations with some governor's offices, but not nearly enough. If you got a Republican governor in your state, you need to get us on the phone with them, a phone conversation with their staff. Ideally, with the governor or the chief of staff, but anyone will do. We can do most or even all of the talking. You don't have to do that. But you've got to set up that conference, that phone conference. So make that happen. That's one very specific thing you can do. Oh, now I can see the live video. Now that I'm about to wrap it up, it's probably too late now. Okay, I see one comment. Yeah, Rubio has been horrible, Lisa. I agree. In fact, Senator Rubio wrote a swamp piece. I don't even think he wrote it. I think some lobbyists wrote it, and I think he put his name on it and published it in the Gainesville Sun. Rubio has always been beholden to the swamp, but we can pressure him because there are 3 million people in Florida being wrecked by student loan debt. Most of them, probably, let's say 55, 60%, voted for him. So Rubio should be on our side. He should be co-sponsoring S-2598. It actually doesn't go against any of the nonsense that he wrote in that editorial. But so one final question from Lisa. Do you think that bankruptcy protections could be restored before the January 31st end of the forbearance? Absolutely, Lisa. In fact, I'm hoping that we can get this bill S-2598 and legislation in the House. I'm hoping that we can get that done by the end of the year. That may be a little optimistic, but I think it's very realistic to think that we can certainly get this done, if not by the end of the year, certainly by January 31st, when the federal student loan repayment moratorium supposedly is going to expire. So I've never been more hopeful, guys. I've probably gone a little bit longer than I was planning on to tonight. I was going to keep it short, but I've never been more hopeful. And I hope you can tell by the gleam in my eye that this is it, guys. I feel like we're in the home stretch. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I almost never say that. In fact, the first time I've said that was probably this year. And I can see that light, and it's getting brighter. So, but you sitting there have got to help. You can't leave it to me or Ed or Lisa or other people. No. You've got to do your part. you've got to help. So just remember that. And if you're not helping, you should be ashamed of yourself. But I forgive you if you start helping. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I'll be back on Friday. Ed will be back on Thursday. Remember what I said. We need you to help fight. So have a great night. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody. See you on Friday. So, okay, I see one comment. Yeah, Rubio has been horrible, Lisa. I agree. In fact, Senator Rubio. Oh, son of a bitch. Am I still live streaming? Ah.